Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I am Lindsay, the housewife historian. We're talking Real Housewives of New Jersey today because we got the third part reunion and we are going to be talking about everything that we saw, what our thoughts are. Make sure that you guys have your comments on. And let's get into this. Of course, before we do though, everything in this video is alleged. Of course, I'm not going to play my intro, make you guys sit through that, but everything in this video is alleged. Before we get started, I want to let you guys know that a lot of people are getting hacked. So if you are posting any sort of comments, it's not just for content creators. If you're posting comments that are anything pro Teresa or negative M&M, then be careful because you could be potentially being targeted for being hacked. I don't even want to say it, but sorry I'm 10 minutes late, by the way, guys. I'm working on something for the Real Housewives of New Jersey, and it's pretty big. I don't want to talk about it, though, right now, so let's get into last night's episode. What did you guys think of last night's episode? Please rate it for me in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. We're going to take some questions and answers. A couple of things I wanted to say. Hey, K Mama. Jennifer's in the room. She says, I don't understand why Teresa is the punching bag for Melissa, Marge, Joe, etc. They just come and attack her and Louis at the reunion. It wasn't even fun to watch. I agree. It wasn't good. It wasn't good to watch. I wanted to know what you guys thought. I want to touch on a couple of things. If you guys watched, I posted a video yesterday that was Joe Giudice's ex-business partner who did an interview with The Sun and Celebrity Buzz. Um, Basically denying that he accepted that he knew Joe Gorga, but claimed that he had only met Melissa a couple of times and he wouldn't recognize her. Well, nobody would recognize her from 10 years ago. She's had 5 Nova jobs. I'm just joking. Somebody else gave me that. They put that in the comments. I thought it was funny. Um, so he's completely denying it. We didn't hear anything else about the rumor and Laura Lee Jensen and the boy that allegedly was in the car, making out, doing whatever, the hanky panky. And we didn't hear anything more about that. And it's crazy because that was, I thought, part of the storyline for this year. Because what else was the storyline then? Just Teresa and Joe and Melissa fighting? I'm still confused. I think Bravo may have intentionally tried to leave it loose ends, leave us kind of hanging, let there be no resolution so that it brings viewers back for another season. I really think that if Bravo had their way, they would bring both Melissa and Teresa back for next season. And I think if I almost feel like, are they starving them out? Do you guys know what I'm saying? Like, are they saying, okay, we're going to put you guys on a pause, but you're not going to get paid while you're on the pause, right? Why am I not getting my comments? Oh, there they are. Sorry. Hey, Yo-Yo. Yo-Yo says, I rate it out of 5 because it's hard to watch, but I feel Teresa was told to not blurt out whatever came to mind because this is to be continued with the harassment happening to her and Louis by the ex. Ugh, yes, not great. It's not great there. Hello, I see them letting Joe come back. I think so too. Marge was shaking in her boots. Marge did seem to be shaking in her boots. I'm gonna go ahead and agree with that. But we didn't even. There was nothing to. I mean, It's so funny because it's like, where did Andy get these questions at? Out of all the questions for Margaret, you come at her with, oh, hey, Joe, how often are you picking up Lexi's kid? We didn't see Lexi this season. We saw her for like 2 seconds. So we got Lexi and Lexi's kid, part of Margaret and Joe's storyline. Then we got Bo Deal. We never met him. We heard about him 100 times at the reunion. You got Laura Lee Jensen. Never met her. She was the entire storyline. And meanwhile, Teresa and Joe and Melissa just fight on stage, and the rest of them sit there. They all just sit there and smile through it and take the uncomfortableness and take their paycheck and go about their day. I am kind of speechless after last night's reunion. I want to touch on something else that was said. Um, Margaret was scared when Louis told her about the ex. Yes, K Mama. I agree. I think that Margaret now understands that people can see the correlation between the ex and Margaret. This is kind of was one of my breakout videos actually. It was because I had a clip of Louise ex. She was like doing videos and she had like an elephant necklace and this precisely, she didn't say she knew Margaret, but she shouted out Margaret and said, I purchased this elephant necklace from her website. I don't know what website that would be, but and she was like, it's a warrior necklace. And so she shouts Margaret out, but we don't know if it's because they actually know each other. But why else would this woman seek Margaret's items online for sale that nobody else has, nobody else has seen, nobody else has this elephant necklace or any, I don't know, have you guys ever bought anything from Margaret's website or her Walmart line? I'm just asking. Um, the whole left side, you can tell we're there to take down Louis and Teresa. I completely agree. It was like they were gaslighting so bad. So let me give you this definition I heard on Red Table Talk about the difference between a liar and a gaslighter, because this is really important to understand. Because gaslighters make you question your reality. If you have a liar, say your boyfriend, and you heard he was at a party on Friday night, your best friend told you, and he swears up and down he wasn't at this party, he wasn't at this party, he loves you, he would never lie to you, and your friend sends a photo. So you're like, here's a photo of you at the party. And then he like breaks down and cries and tells you he's so sorry and he didn't want to lie to you. Yeah, whatever, right? Liar. Okay. Gaslighter would say, how how dare you? You're crazy. Why would you ever? Are you talking to your friends about me and having them send you stalkish photos? You're a stalker. You're literally stalking me, right? Not admitting to lying, not admitting that the photo, just gaslighting the reality. And pointing the finger back at you, like, what's wrong with you that you would ask your friends and have them send you photos? You must be crazy. Something must be wrong with you. And I feel like we saw a lot of that from Melissa. We saw it when she said, "Oh, great. We're really on another level of," what did she say? She didn't say cuckoo, but like another level of like out of touch or in a different reality. And just, anytime anything that Teresa or Louis said, it was something over there trying to allude to not even it being a lie, but like just questioning the reality. Tasha said I had to watched it 2 times and was watching it again before you came on to see what I can pick up. I was so mad last night. I wish Teresa would just throw. Um, I think that, again, I said this before, Melissa isn't emotionally invested. We know that people write one-liners for the Real Housewives. They've memorized them. They come on the show. They put them in their confessionals. They put them in the reunion. And it seemed a lot like that. We're hearing rumors that allegedly that side of the couch met at the minimum once a week to really truly plan for the reunion. We saw John Fuda have an envelope that we never saw what was in that. We didn't really hear a lot about Pizzagate. It didn't really make a lot of sense. We get the phone call with Gia, which is bad. That was bad. And this is why I feel like, is Melissa setting Joe Gorga up for failure? Is Melissa setting Joe Gorga up for failure? Think about this for 1 second. Let's say this is my thing. Okay. We know that allegedly the men had a house husbands sort of. It could have been flipping houses, whatever it is, right? It was somehow the house husbands, and it was with a major 3-letter network, not ABC, NBC, or CBC, but a major 3-letter network. Um, Not like Oxygen, but similar, like Oxygen or what's the other one that everyone watches? TLC, that sort of level, like, or HGN TV. They were good. They had it. They were in line. Everything was ready to roll, right? But BravoCon happens. And we know, all of us understand that BravoCon, the kind of light that Joe Gorga was in after BravoCon, whether it was his fault, whether he deserved it or not, it doesn't matter. The footage, the clips, the language, the body language, it's very it's bad. It's real bad. It is real bad when Bravo didn't even mention it at all. Which again makes me feel like they just want everyone to forget about it. But anyways, this happens, right? And at some point, the men end up losing their deal, okay? But Joe Gorga convinces Frank and Joe B that it's not because of what happened at BravoCon. It's because Louis is running a smear campaign on us. That's what happened. I don't know if John Fuda was part of the house husband, he very well likely could have been, guys, because let me remind you, everyone's like, where does John Fuda think he is? Like, he's new. Da, da, da. Him and Joe Gorga have known each other for years and years. I posted a photo of them all the way back from to 2005. So he probably feels a sort of grandfathered in because him and Joe have been friends for so long. So at this point, Joe Gorga has a very, very long, lifelong friend on the show as a husband. He has Frank Catania, who is was an attorney, so he's smart. Allegedly, at one point, represented Joe. Um, and you have Joe B, who wants to be the cool guy. He's he's a little older. He's like, I want to roll with the guys. I want to go with the homies to the strip club. Like, yes, yes, and yes. I want to roll with you. Like, I don't know if he wasn't like super. He never like had a nice, cool friend group to like roll with the guys, but like he surely is finding everything that he needs in the guy group with, Evan and Joe and Frank and the boys, right? So I am convinced that Joe Gorga convinced them that the reason they lost their deal was because Louis had a smear campaign done on them behind their backs, and Bo Deal was the investigator. And so that's why there's so much animosity between the men and Louis. And really, Joe did it to save his own ass for deflection. He didn't want the other guys to be mad at him. We know he can't take ownership for shit. He doesn't take ownership for anything with Teresa. And I think that he literally convinced them. Because he probably believes that too. That's the thing, though. That man, seriously, I'm not trying to be mean. But some of the things, that it doesn't sound right. It's not like clear thinking. It doesn't sound logical. It's not 1 plus 1. It's like it equals 2. It's like 1 plus 1 equals 2.8, right? It's like not enough to be like there's a red flag, but still like raise an eyebrow and make a mental note. That seems a little bit strange. So I think he convinced them that it wasn't his fault. And maybe the network lied. Who knows? But any of us that have been following the Real Housewives of New Jersey know that that footage of Joe Gorga at BravoCon had to cost him something. The fact that it didn't cost him Bravo altogether is a blessing. They should have saved their entire paycheck this year knowing that shit was going to start coming their way, simply from the BravoCon alone. I've said this before. I would have liked to have seen the network at least have Joe Gorga do like an apology. He would like, you don't even have to talk to anyone. Like, just have him do an apology. Apology to women everywhere that watch Bravo, because I'm pretty sure that there's a lot of women and a lot of men that watch Bravo, but a lot of us that are offended about the way that he spoke to Jennifer um that night. And we saw Melissa, she really recapped allegedly what she said, bye, oh, you're a loser. Remember, she was calling Jennifer a loser? And if you go back to the finale, she was saying that at the finale too. She was calling, you guys are losers. You're losers. I'm like, that was like from when I went to school. Remember, you'd be like, loser. So I was like in the early 2000s. And she was saying, bye bye, bye bye to Jennifer at the Gansevoort. And she was saying that too. So I feel like somebody wrote her a couple one liners. She just re regurgitates them, reuses them, my assumption also is that things are not good over there. I understand that we as viewers just watched the Real Housewives of New Jersey reunion, but they lived it and they got it early, of course. So I'm sure that things are not good with Melissa and Joe right now. I'm sure there's a lot of tension in that house between everything that's going on. And I can't help but think, is Bravo trying to starve them out? Is Bravo saying, you know what? We know Margaret can't afford a pause. We know she can't afford a pause. We know M and J can't afford a pause, allegedly. I mean, I'm not trying to be mean. Could any of us afford to go into work and be like, sorry, go home? We'll let you know when you can come back. It's called getting laid off. It sucks. It does. It sucks. And it is hard on your finances, especially if it happens unexpectedly, right? So I almost feel like, are they trying to starve them out knowing how much money Teresa makes? I mean, she makes a lot of, even if she doesn't necessarily need the money, that's a really big paycheck, that she lives off of. So eventually she's going to need the money. And therefore, I think that Bravo may or may not be trying to put them on a pause and starve them out, which will force them to reconcile and film together, thus giving Bravo what it wants. Because Bravo wants to bring back Melissa and Teresa. That's what they want to do. They don't want to lose Joe and Melissa. If they did, they wouldn't have had Andy. Basically, he's been co signing for them and trying to give them a different sort of public perception, because I think that they're really starting to see all of the negative, how viewers really feel about M and J this season. Yeah. Let's read some comments. Yo-Yo, Frankie Jr. is a decent man, unlike some of the house husbands. I'm glad that we touched on this. He cares about his professional reputation. I completely agree about that. I think that Frankie Jr. is lovely. I met him back in October. He was so nice. He was so respectful. He just is not a problematic type of guy. He just is not, and he's professional. And I don't think that it's fair. Again, Joe Gorga is like rallying his troops. He's like, all right, we're gonna, and Melissa's probably helping him, because the scene between Joe and Frank, like, say that, let's say, like, hypothetically, because I could see Louis being like kind of busy and missing like Frankie's phone call, not calling back for a couple of days, and as like a young new employee, that might freak you out, right? You're like, oh my god, I called my boss on Monday and it's like Friday and he hasn't called me back. Like, oh, I don't know what to do, Dad. What should I do? Frank, in passing, mentions it to Joe, not thinking it's a big deal, right? When all this shit goes down, all of a sudden, Joe's like making moves, right? He's like, okay, we're gonna have, I'm gonna say David called me. I don't know if David Catania called him or not. I think that's a little left. David's never really known Joe. David didn't even really know Teresa, I think, really that well until after he married Dina and they hung out. So that one, it was a little bit to me. So I think it was like, okay, we'll bring David in. We'll say that David, what he has to say about Louis. Then we'll do the Frankie thing. Because if you notice, it was really Joe Gorga asking the questions. He was like, well, what happened with Frankie? Well, what happened? And if you saw, Melissa kept turning around to Joe saying, oh, she doesn't want this Dolores doesn't want this story out. Dolores doesn't want this story out. I thought we weren't talking about the kids. Like, you guys say, don't talk about the kids. You're not going to be that aunt. But here you are bringing up this young, career-driven man and trying to cause issues here. And then you're bringing up your own niece. Shitty. I feel like Teresa was the most hurt about the Gia thing. She whipped out her phone so fast. That did not seem planned to me. Like, she whipped her phone out, like, I'm calling her right now to find out. She could have never have said that. Um, Maybe Gia alluded to it. And if she did, so what? It's a private conversation between your uncle. This is where Joe Gorga gets in trouble. He doesn't understand boundaries, okay? Healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries are not having a conversation with your 22-year-old niece, and you know what? If she did say it, you would write it off and say, you know what? Her intentions are good. She loves me. She wants me at my sister's wedding. Maybe she just doesn't have a lot of, when you're young, you don't know how relationships work and how people maneuver. You just don't. So if hypothetically she did say something like that, a good uncle would be like, she just doesn't get it right now. She'll get it when she's older, whatever, you know, and let it be what it is. Not take that conversation to the reunion and try to out Teresa's oldest daughter. And again, hasn't Teresa's children been through enough? This is where I think Joe and Melissa really screwed up. I don't know if this was their Hail Mary. I don't know if the Gia story was his Hail Mary, because I do not think that they thought that Teresa was going to call Gia. And I don't think that Frank thought that he was going to film with Joe and that scene was going to make it. I think he thought it was going to get cut. And I think that Joe was like, come on, Frank, what we're going to do is we film on this date and we're going to talk about the whole Frankie thing. And before it was all said and done with, Frank committed to Joe. He didn't want to piss Dolores off, and Dolores was making sense on the fact of, like, whatever transpired, let it be what it is. Frankie has a new job. He's happy now. Let's be professional, and we're not going to talk bad about Louis. Regardless, he gave him a job. who cares about the in between? Nothing bad happened here, right? Like we're taking something very small and making it very, very big. And that's exactly what happened. And I think Joe Gorga gave Frank the rhetoric to go along with that. Frank kind of being a people pleaser, wanting to be Joe Gorga, you know, the cool guy. Joe Gorga's the cool guy. He's gonna have this spinoff for the house husband. And then also Dolores is the mama bear, that's Frankie's mom, his family, his son. And so he just tried to give each of them what they wanted, and it screwed him because he probably didn't think that scene was going to make the cut. I don't know why he would think that. Barbara! No! Barbara says they went after her Insta account. What happened? Is your account hacked? Listen, guys, I don't want to say the words on here about what happens sometimes when you comment and say anything derogatory about M or M. It could be just be in the comments, and it will make you subject to the games. If you've experienced that, DM me on Instagram because we are keeping a running list. Yes, Yo Yo, so true about Frankie. This one says, she'd be saying shit. I just like her mother since she's young, like mother, like daughter. Tasha, what was Tasha's point? Tasha said, Joe Gorga's face every time Teresa and Louis had their comebacks was the best. You could tell he was fuming because they were basically debunking his stuff. I cannot believe, Barbara. Please tell me if you are, if it was your, it's just gone. Barbara. Guys, anyone that's new to my channel, I'm not lying. I don't have a reason to lie on these people. I don't really care. I don't have a leg in the race. Me and Martinis with Eddie were talking about this last night. Bravo's not paying us. These people aren't paying us. We wish we were getting freaking paid. We're not. We're actually getting kind of the opposite. Of but the fans shouldn't have to suffer, the content creators shouldn't have to suffer. This is muddying the waters on people are going to be fed up with Bravo. Like if you can't even talk how say how you feel about an episode or about housewives without dealing with repercussions, that's messed up, and I'm not the only one that thinks it. Peggy Brown says it was disgusting, the smirk on Melissa's face. That's again, Peggy. Like I said, Melissa doesn't have any emotional involvement. She doesn't have any attachment. She doesn't give any F's about Teresa. That's very clear, guys. Let's take a second though. And I think that even Melissa fans can agree, right? That last night we really saw she's done with Teresa. She doesn't give an F about Teresa, right? And she had no emotional attachment almost. Do you guys know what I'm saying? And even the other castmates were saying, let Joe and Teresa talk because Melissa kept intervening. Louis said, let the siblings talk. Melissa didn't like that. When they did a commercial break, they came back. Did you hear Danielle? And everyone shook their head and said, let's let Teresa come back on stage and let her and Joe and talk. Just them. And that was Danielle's way of saying, Melissa, shut up. Sorry, guys, this wind. Yeah, it was the way of saying, shut up, let them talk. And I feel like that is planned. And she's doing that because their line, their story, their stuff, it's not true. So Melissa helps to buffer or be a smokescreen for Joe and the things that he's saying. That's why when the whole Gia thing happened, she turned around and was like, don't even say anything. He doesn't have to say anything. She immediately started to come in because she also doesn't like Joe to talk during interviews. Did you guys notice that? Joe Gorga is not allowed to talk when they're on the red carpet. Nope. Joe Gorga, he's not allowed to talk. She takes over the interview. It doesn't matter when, where, what red carpet. Go back and watch them on any red carpet, and you're going to see that Melissa gives the interview. She does the interview. And if they ask Joe Gorga a question to start the interview, she will just interject herself and take control because she doesn't trust him to do it the way that she thinks that it should be done because it's not authentic. It's not authentic, guys. I'm sorry if you are a Melissa and Joe fan, but it's just simply not authentic. The way they explained it, it was Gia said, you need to do better, and is in Joe doing better with his sister and stepping up for his sister, not Melissa. I love that, Lisa. Again, Tasha. Joe Gorga's face every time we read that one. Yep. Let's see here. Some newer comments. Let me get down here. And the Gorga's fight over who's better and greater on her podcast is sad and desperate. Oh my gosh. So terrible. I'm just going to leave this comment here. This is how things get done. This is how Andy BH's channel was also demonetized. We talked about that on Martinis with Eddie last night as well. And that was a big surprise. He's been working on his channel for 3 years. I remember when he started making videos in his car. Not that he lived in his car, he just made a lot, he worked a lot. And he would make his videos from his car. And it like actually it's very endearing. He's a very hard worker. Like 3 years of content, 3 years of having a YouTube and building a family. Because you do, everyone starts to feel like your family. We chat every couple of days, if not every day, or we're DMing or we're seeing each other in our Instagrams and our Twitters. So they have people in the tech world. So talk about Frankie unfollowing Joey. That was another thing I wanted to tell you guys that allegedly I'm sorry, that Frankie left Louis' business. They filmed that in May of 2021. So obviously he would have had to have left Louis' business prior to May of 2021 or around May of 2021. And then we found pictures of it was Louis and both of Louis' sons and Frankie, and they were at a concert, and this was in December. And Frankie commented and said, it was like we had such a nice time. And just like Martinis from Andy said, that makes no sense at all. Why would if your boss screwed you over, like, okay, sure. Eddie, Frankie doesn't want to say anything. He's professional. Okay. But you're still not going to go hang out with your boss and go to a whole concert with his family and hang out. You're not going to do that if your boss screwed you over and you had to go get a whole new job. Sorry. Make sure that you guys are hitting that like button. It helps my videos a lot. There's a lot of you in here. So, it like is noticeable when nobody hits the like button because it's like, wow, there's a lot of people and nobody hit the like button. Suspicious. Guys, but we have a lot more to talk about as it pertains to Jersey. I don't think this is even over. Are you guys tired of hearing about New Jersey? We're obviously going to have to pivot to the Real Housewives of Orange County and then also the Real Housewives of Atlanta and start talking about those. But I think we still have a lot more to hear as it pertains to the Real Housewives of New Jersey. We're going to start getting more now that the reunion is over. I don't know how long Bravo's going to keep them on a gag order, but Teresa was on her podcast this morning on Namaste Bitches. She was talking about the reunion. So I don't know if now that the reunion's up, if their contract, since they haven't renewed yet for another season, if they can still have the power to keep them on a gag order, depending on the stipulations of their contracts, is what I'm trying to say. It's been kind of nice having them on a gag order, just saying, because we know how some of them can be. We know that allegedly Melissa was like going nuts with podcasts at the beginning of the season, guys. Allegedly, rumor was like producers were trying to call, they wanted her, and she was just hitting that reject button, not answering calls, texts, emails, voicemails, and doing her own damn thing. If you remember, she was on a lot of podcasts at the beginning of the season, back to back to back to back to back to back to back. So, if Bravo is listening, we are hearing some rumors that they want to bring back the entire cast with no cast changes. We're hearing that they're interviewing a couple of things. We've already heard that they've interviewed the entire state of New Jersey and they never have any luck. They are asking casts to refer people as well. Here's my scare. I'm scared that I know that everyone loved Jen Fessler's comic relief, and I can appreciate that. But please, dear baby Jesus, do not bring that woman on back on full time. The woman is like, alliances are not good on Housewives. They're not. It does not make good for Housewives TV. That woman pledges allegiance to Margaret Josephs every day or every time she films, okay? Thank you. K Mama says the gag order was only until the last episode of the reunion. That's why I'm telling you guys, it's just getting started. Barbara says, I am not watching Margaret Seahog another season. I'm getting a lot of comments about people saying, I'm not watching next season if this is going to be The same with the same people. I don't want to watch Margaret another season. I don't want to watch the other one another season. I bet Melissa will be careful on that podcast of hers. I bet not. I bet not. I'm not lying. Careful is like not in their vocabulary. Yes, they're doing interviews now. Yeah, guys, it's about to get wild. And there's I'm working on something I can't tell you guys about, but there's a lot going on right now. So I think that I just want to tell all of you guys again, make sure that you're careful. Make sure that you guys are not answering DMs. Don't be hitting links in accounts. Don't be giving people your email address linked to your Instagram or any of your other accounts. Just be careful, guys, okay? That's all. You just have to be careful. Be careful of your comments. Be careful where you're leaving them or where other people may be commenting. Jamie says, Teresa has so many friends. Her birthday at a restaurant, had at least 30 girlfriends, all having a great time. None of them want to be on. I think Jamie, honestly, I think that Bravo, I don't think that the cast can't come out and tell us all the shitty things that Bravo does to them, but we surely can put it together, right? We know that it wasn't just Joe and Melissa coming on Bravo. Bravo also told Kathy Walkeely allegedly and Richie like not to tell Teresa. I mean, think about it. They had their star Teresa Giudice, and not only did Teresa's brother and sister-in-law go behind her back, so did production. So did production. Okay? Look at how Andy Cohen talked about Teresa in his book and setting her up because she was season 13 was going to be her last season anyway. So why not bring Caroline on to take her down? What? That's your boss? These producers are there to start drama. They put ideas in these women's heads. They whisper stuff in their ear and they encourage them to do things. So just like when we saw Teresa tell Danielle, pull her hair, pull her hair, pull her hair, and just like we saw Joe Gorga tell Marge, push him in the pool, push Marty in the pool, push Marty in the pool, that's stuff producer does, things producers do. And sometimes I think just because they've worked for the show for so long, they know what would make for great TV, so they encourage it, right? So Teresa knew that would make for great TV, so she was like, pull her hair. And Joe Gorga was like, "Oh, this is gonna make for great TV because they have they know now because they've been on the show long enough. They know what the audience what brings yada yada yada." And so producers do that all the time, right? Like we have to blame producers as well for John and Rachel Fuda's storyline as it pertains to their son. There was a producer that was interviewed. I think she was on Entertainment Tonight. I might be wrong about that, but she was on answering questions and they brought up the John Fuda adoption, Rachel whole thing. P.S. John Fuda's son's mother has a child with somebody else. And that father has custody of that child again because she was away. I don't know what the custody, whatever it is. They allegedly John and this other guy hung out and they would let the boys because they're brothers, they're half brothers, right? They're the same mother. And they would let them hang out and go to the park, yada yada yada. Well, now this man is coming out and saying allegedly that John stopped all communication and basically won't allow the brothers to talk. I don't know if that's true. Um, I don't think Louis had to go find this woman in prison. Okay. As soon as they brought this up, people were sparked, right? Once we knew she was in prison, there's no doubt somebody's gonna find her. That's the if you put somebody in prison, that's the easiest place to find somebody, okay? Like I'm like, oh, they're in prison, that's easy. I got you. I know exactly where they're at. That's easy. So it was kind of like handing it to us on a silver platter. I'm just saying, guys, come on. So producers as well, and they and I've said this before. John and Rachel need their own team of people. They need their own lawyers. They need their own. That's why you got to have a publicist and stuff because Bravo will come in and be like, "Oh yeah, that's a great storyline," and they'll let you get fried for it, right? But in reality, Bravo had to approve the storyline. Like they're going along with it too. They're writing for the characters too, right? So Bravo doesn't ever want to take responsibility either, and that's what it comes to with the Gorgas. I think they want to revive their public image, bring people back around to liking the Gorgas because if they leave on a bad note and people stay pissed off at the Gorgas and they start looking into things, Bravo might have to answer. That would be my assumption, is that they likely overlooked things because it wasn't a huge franchise when they brought them on. Remember, it was season 3. The Housewives were nothing like they are now today. And we're talking 13 years ago, well, like 10 years ago. And I think that they overlooked things because um, they didn't know where the show was going, right? And then once it got big, there wasn't much they could do. So that's my opinion. Also wanted to tell you guys that Danielle Staub is on Twitter and she is calling on Bulldog, which is Melissa's ex-boyfriend, to speak on the rumors, honey. Speak on the rumors from way back when Jan came on the episode and Bulldog was tweeting about it. And then he stopped because they basically were, he had a tumor and they were telling him he was going to die and wishing death on him. Okay. But Danielle Staub is calling on Bulldog and told him that viewers would really appreciate it if he would come out and clear up the accusations, the cheating accusations about Melissa Gorga. I'm just saying, y'all, it's about to get crazy. I'm not lying. It's going to get bad. So I don't know what he's going to do. He was allegedly sick when the show first came on. And I don't know if I think that it's a small area that they live in. Nobody wants to deal with Melissa's sisters all the time. They don't. Maybe it's different now that years have gone by. Maybe, he's older, his family, maybe they move, he doesn't care. But, like, nobody wants to be harassed by people in a town that you live in. Nobody. Um, Barbara says, I'm going to follow Danielle Staub. Yeah, I think it was on her Twitter account. Tasha says, I was not a Teresa or definitely not a Melissa fan. See, I'm telling you, I've read a lot of people that feel it's exactly like this, Tasha. But after everything they did, I've become a Teresa fan. Louis may have some faults, but I do see him trying to be a better person, and no one is perfect. I think that's exactly what's happening, guys, is that if you weren't either fan, you're kind of seeing what's going down and you're going to lean towards Teresa. I've also talked about how there's a 3-part series on Louis on Bravo, Bravo, Ducking Bravo. Go check that out if you want to. It shows, he was into charity and the community and doing things and helping people a long time ago. And I think that you can kind of tell he's a helper just from his personality, even maybe too much of a helper. Maybe he wants to help too much and maybe it gets him into trouble. That's what I think about Louis. Because you got to have healthy boundaries. And you can lead a horse to water, but you surely can't make him drink. And you also can't milk a horse. I learned that in therapy when I was young. All right, guys. Well, make sure that you're hitting that like button. Subscribe to my channel. Turn your notifications on. I'm going to drop a shorter video with some of the things that we talked about today. That's uninterrupted because it's not a live, but I just want to come on and chat with you guys and see if you had any questions or comments. I'm glad we got to chat today. Barbara, I'm so sorry about your account. Please DM me with your new account so that I know that it's you. Again, guys, if you're experiencing anything like this, please DM me because we do have a running list of people that this is happening to. So, all right, guys, happy hump day. 2 more days till Friday.